welcome everyone to the normally monthly, but this time's quarterly EVerest Charging Operator Forum. June was just a super busy month. As announced, we skipped 2 of those meetings, and yeah, we have a little bit to catch up. Before we start, there might be competitors here in the room, and I think there actually are. So please behave. There's a Linux Foundation antitrust policy. You can check it out online. But let's dive into the actual content for today. Quick recap, because there might be some new people in the room. I try to make it really crisp. Give an update what happened on EVerest the last month. And there's a couple of interactive questions and things we want to discuss with you. Collect your feedback around OCPP and beyond. And then there's a couple of upcoming conferences where we would love to invite you. Particularly, we're also looking, we have 1 slot left for a CPO speaker on the upcoming event. Otherwise, there's a couple of vendors queuing up. So if no one raises his hand, I will give that to vendors. But let's start and dive in. So a quick recap, what is the EVerest project? Big open source project. The center of a charging station, really the firmware and the charge pole, connects to everything around, from vehicles, energy management system, behind or in front of the meter, charge management system, payment, HMI, but also all the inner components, from power supplies to relays to power meters, payment terminals. All of that is connected here. It's free. It's really industry-friendly open source, steered by a lot of community meetings like this one, and a really, really vivid engineering community. It's super flexible. You can configure it from everything from single home AC chargers to public high-power charger parks and everything in between. We have a couple of companies here on the big sticker wall. I circled around the new ones just for the last quarter who came to the plate. So we now start. Oh, Renesas is wrong. We started to work with Qualcomm and Synaptics. Sorry, Renesas was there before. On the component vendors, Codico joined the ecosystem. I think there's another logo I missed, so there might be more. And on the vendor side, the ones I can name who joined us are Pluon, Belgium AC and DC vendor, Zaptec, European's biggest AC charging vendor, Tritium, one of the global biggest DC charger vendors, CTGL, or I think Compute Time, multiple names. It's a Chinese charger vendor, also building EVerest-based systems, shipping them to Europe and actually globally. And Eloaded, Germany-based HPC and megawatt charger vendor. And I think also they won a big tender for the German Autobahn. And there might be more, and I might miss some here, but as far as I know, these are the public ones. And if you know someone is missing, please let us know. And still, EVerest is one of the top projects in the clean tech space worldwide. So this is a ranking by the Linux Foundation, and we have really the most contributors here. We have created quite some value out there with a lot of organizations bringing in code, and it's really a stellar open source project. It's steered by a big management structure from the Linux Foundation side, but also within the EVerest project. We have the technical steering committee, we have different working groups, we have a vulnerability management task force or security task force, and we have the CPO Forum. That's where you're today. And just super quick recap, the purpose of the CPO Forum, we want to bring in CPO voice or CPMS vendor voices to the community, align you with the vendors, so help you to push the roadmap in a certain direction, and so giving you a voice in this industry, but also giving the vendors input. All of that is on our new landing page. You can find that under this link on the lfenergy.com groups EVerest CPO Forum. For calendar there, we have all the meeting recordings there. We have the slide and the notes, and with a mailing list. So please have a look and please share with friends. So, and the usual drill in the beginning of this meeting is going with the flow and starting an Excalibur exercise. Quickly share the QR code again and share the link with you in the chat here, especially the ones who are new here. And if you're not shy, would ask you to leave a quick note on this whiteboard, who you are, what's your background, and what is your wish for the CPO Forum. So what should we do to make this a success? And you see the big green box on the right. We will add more questions as we go after the next section. So please leave some words about you. And if you're adding further boxes and you don't want to make them anonymous, then also in the further boxes, repeat your name so we can basically correlate the answers. While the last ones might still typing, we'll slowly progress on the slides. We can also, worst case, in the next section, re-add your name. Repeating the key updates from the EVerest project. Pete, you want to go through them, or should I take the slide as well?
I can take it. I also, from my side, on the release side, we can say that we have published the first patch release of the 2026 02 stable release line, where a couple of security and bug fixes have been addressed. You can find the details in the release notes that you can find them on GitHub, or we also shared them in Zule. At the same time, on the main line, we added a couple of major features in the last 3 months. One definitely worth mentioning is the EEBus support for the LPC use case, which we worked on for quite a while. There is also a new EVerest OCPP module now available. Before that, we had separate modules for OCPP 1.6 and OCPP 2.x. The functionality has now been combined in a new module. And I think we have a slide later on that goes into more detail about this. Lots of things have happened around DER and V2X implementations across all protocol domains. So inside OCPP and also ISO 15118. We changed a couple of things considering the network configuration for OCPP. I think that's also a topic that we will focus on a separate slide as well. Yeah, and I guess one of the highlights that's also mentioned here is that we were able to complete a fully automated EVerest-based OCTT test run in a heel setup, which was quite a nice achievement to do this for OCPP 1.6 and 201. But I think the federated testing that's also mentioned here on the slide is also something that I think Marco will present on one of the later slides as well. And that could be a potential candidate to edit.
Maybe a quick introduction for those who not already know Pete. He's now the official EVerest chief architect, so kind of the CTO of the EVerest project. And he coordinates a lot of the technical groundworks.
Right. This is exactly about the OCPP, the new OCPP module that has been introduced lately and is now available in EVerest. We also recommend all integrators to move over to the new modules because we plan to deprecate the existing ones at some point. As I mentioned, it implements all protocol versions that are available, at least the ones that EVerest has had supported before, 1.6, 201, and also 2.1 in the single module. So there's no need anymore to have like separate configuration files in order to switch between the different versions. There's also automatic migration supported from the existing OCPP modules towards the new one. So you won't lose any data when you upgrade from one to the other. And they also share the same configuration storage now. So this has been different. In the past, OCPP 1.6 configuration was only 1.6 related. And when you were switching over to 2.x, that was actually a different storage backend and different configuration on the file system that you used. So we decided to put this together, also because we knew we wanted to put this into a single module, and you can actually map a lot of configuration from OCPP 1.6 also to OCPP 2.x, and especially since 2.x requires a lot more control and access on your charger. We decided to put the storages together, and this was basically one of the prerequisites that we had to do before we publish this new module where everything is combined. The great thing also about the new module is that if you integrate EVerest, you just have a single interface that you need to implement in order to control the OCPP stack. So the stack itself tries to provide as much functionality as possible within the charging station, but as you probably know, OCPP also provides lots of functionality that could be relevant for the integration on the charger. So data transfer is, of course, a very generic good example for this, but also accessing and controlling configuration through web interfaces or apps. Smart charging information is usually something that's used as part of other applications around EVerest for load balancing or integration into other energy management systems, and also the authorization process or session costs or things that are part of basically California pricing requirements are usually also part of the OCPP interface of EVerest, so that it can be embedded in other systems. And yeah, all of this is combined in a single interface. So no matter if you run 1.6 or 2.x, you can implement, for example, the same data transfer mechanisms, and there's not a difference between the versions. So you don't need specific implementations for one or the other stack. The last point is also important before you jump, Marco. So this is a new module, yes, but this new module is only about how this integrates with EVerest. It's also reusing a lot of functionality from the existing ones, and the OCPP stack, so the library itself, which we called libOCPP earlier, now integrated in the mono repository. It hasn't changed at all, so you can still expect the exact same OCPP communication and behavior of your charger. That hasn't changed at all.
Let's move on. Federated testing. Maybe I take that one. First of all, this was also raised by some community members with accelerated development cycle, with bigger code merges coming in, especially in the AI age, where you can make huge requests. How do you ensure security, and how do you ensure product quality, especially with a code base which is so universal that it can literally be used for a lot of things and is used for a lot of things. So it's super hard to make one test coverage. Even if you get 100% code coverage, that doesn't mean that you have 100% use case coverage, because of all the combinatorial explosion of different potential configuration files. So a solution is, as in other industries as well, you just test the relevant test cases. How do you find relevant? For example, if there's a real-world product with EVerest running a certain configuration, I would say that product is relevant, and the configuration setup in this product is quite relevant. So the idea is every vendor can hook into the open public testing infrastructure, getting a ping when something changes, can test it proprietely with his customized changes behind his fence, and then give feedback if this is a good or bad new version of EVerest, a good or bad pull request or branch. So we can kind of federating testing without people have to expose their custom extensions. We want to start this soon, probably even on the hackathon. I will talk about that later, in 4 weeks in Germany. And we are still looking for people who are interested in fully automatic testing of their charger firmware setup, potentially even black box testing. So I think some of the techniques we're developing here even not require testing in an EVerest system. So it can also be misused for other things. But the main goal is making sure that EVerest is not just tested by one set of tests, by many tests suits, and then we're getting even better release criteria. And one of the important criteria here, whenever someone signs up to be such a test node, it's free, but with great power comes great responsibility. So if you flagging something or that person flags something else, this pull request doesn't work out. There's a certain period where the flagging and the blocking can survive, but it's expected that then we get a collaborative effort to fix it. So if someone just flags it as broken, not jointly works with the others on fixing it, they will probably be pushed out of the list because you can't block it and then don't tell anyone why and how. I just got a question here from Patrick in the chat. Are those test nodes chargers or also other things like OCPP backends? So in the way how we plan this, it's charger where we installing an EVerest firmware, but the test could be that this charger tries to connect to a backend from you and tries that the new version of EVerest in a fake charger, in a virtual charger, in a physical charger has to perform tasks. And if you are a test node, those tasks could be that you're running the CI/CD tests of your backend against the new version of EVerest and see if this would break compatibility with your backend. So in a way, we're testing EVerest, but we're also testing the things connected to EVerest. So if this breaks something with your backend, yes, that could block an EVerest release if you want to become a test node. So I hope I answered your question, Patrick. Okay, thanks. EVerest roadmap input. We will have a bigger roadmap session live and face-to-face in beginning of September on the face-to-face event. There might be more at the end of the year. We'll run a formal process. But if you already have feedback on what you just saw and other things, I will go on. Let's go back to the whiteboard and let's push out. Maybe Pete, you want to walk through the other questions as well, and maybe people can answer more of them in a row. So we just slowly go through the list here.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think we can also open up the discussion on those later on. With the new OCPP module that I just presented, we also changed the way the initial WebSocket handshake works with EVerest. So before, for 1.6, we were only advertising 1.6 as a sub-protocol in the WebSocket handshake. Now with OCPP, with the new OCPP module, we theoretically are able to advertise all protocol versions that we support in the matter of in the order of preference. So 2.1, 2.0.1, and 1.6. But we would also be interested in how this is actually implemented in the field. From the experience that we have, many charging stations are configured in a way that they kind of know to which protocol version endpoint they connect to. So it's nothing that's really dynamically negotiated in the handshake, although the specification technically describes that it can work this way. So yeah, we are interested in how your central systems are set up. If you need a charging station to connect to a specific 1.6, 201, 2.1 endpoint, or if you also treat this flexibly and you can route the communication to the specific implementations of the protocols. So that's something that we would be interested in. We would like to make this available. In the end, of course, in EVerest, you are kind of flexible because you can also always provide just a single choice and preference that you want to connect with. So here we would be interested in your feedback and how that's how you set it up and how that's working in the field for you. Whenever somebody would like to comment or start a discussion, either you can put it in the Excalibur or just unmute and comment. The second thing where we would like to get feedback is on your progress for OCPP 2.1 in general, but specifically also on the DER and also smart charging integration side. So in EVerest, we are moving quite fast with this, and we are also looking for test systems that we can use to actually demonstrate the functionality or verify and test the functionality. And especially for DER, this also makes a lot of sense if vehicles are involved. But yeah, we are looking for test partners and setups for verifying the 2.1 support that we are currently focusing, which is exactly smart charging and DER integration.
There was a question in the chat from Patrick. What do you mean with DER integration in this case? VGI?
Yes. So I'm referring to especially the functional block. Is it Q in the 2.1 specification? Let me just quickly check. It is functional block R, like DER control. So specific 2.1 messages sent by the CSMS to the charging station that are either forwarded to the EV via ISO 15118-20 or handled directly inside the charging station. So that's what we're referring to here.
So let's move slowly on. Also, super broad question, AI, EVerest and EV charging. So AI is everywhere. And also we are working behind the scenes at Pionix on certain AI application. We're using AI as probably everyone on different scales. The question is there anything you would expect from EVerest inside? Like what AI things should EVerest implement? To what external AI use cases should EVerest connect to or open up for? And probably not your main concern, but in case it is anyway, also for us as an open source community, the age of AI development tools is accelerating things and makes different approaches like federated testing even more necessarily to ensure and also enable bigger refactorings, which before would have taken years. So we need methods to ensure that we actually can benefit from the new speed. So if you have feedback on the entire AI bubble, especially what do you see for EVerest, what do you wish from EVerest, let us know. Okay, last big one here, and that's also easy. I think the EVerest community as a whole has quite some technical expertise on EV charging. I mean, there's many companies behind the scene here from all kind of fields like charger vendors, component vendors, controller vendors, charge point operators. So if you think that can be useful somewhere for reviewing things, all kind of due diligence or technical consulting, and there's any things you think the community should enable, just leave it here in the bullet number 4. Yeah. Then I will slowly moving on. A bit of recap. We had been in Brussels a bit more than a month ago. We got invited by an open source policy forum. For those of you, actually, it's not only Europe. As you might know, there's a little bit international tension around software and sovereignty, like who has control over data, over server, and so on. There's also a bit of tariffs and export control tension, even between Europe, North America, Asia, basically all over the place. I don't want to become too political here, but I think you can imagine what this is referring to. And the European Union has decided to become more digital sovereign and want to do something for it. And a really, really central part of their digitalization and digital tech sovereignty strategy is around open source. And they announced a full envelope of things they want to do. And one thing which might affect our industry, this is all very early on, but they want to put open source requirements or preference in tenders. Also, the best way how you can accelerate an industry is by creating bias for it. And they have some decision power over what ends up in certain funding or subsidy programs or requirements and so on. So let's see if things like open source will end up in tenders. And that might affect something like EVerest, maybe not. It maybe affects your data center, your cloud provider, your CPMS sourcing. Could be all over the place, but since EVerest is all about open source, I think it's really relevant news. And we, as EVerest and Pionix, had been there on stage and also presented what we're doing in energy with EVerest, with Citrino S, and with other projects. Yeah. And I think end of the day, there had been, just seeing here the chat, so I think you maybe have seen that Anthropic got export controlled, the latest model, that basically non-Americans had got blocked from this. And actually it was a day before this forum and like 2 days before the policy was announced. By the end of the day, it's all about having a life insurance if any president anywhere in the world decides again that a digital product gets blocked. So this is about, and they think open source is a good way to catch up and to be fast and building new things. And besides all the other open source benefits, don't have to repeat it here. EV Charging open source community event. So we had a super nice meetup in Munich after Power to Drive. Nice beer garden. We had 40 plus people there. Was really cool. We had a webinar about the Pionix Virtual Charger Park. You can look at the recording here. I will also send around the slides. And if you just want to try it out, go on cloud.pionix.com. You will also find the recording in the help menu. And it's all about helping you to test your CPMS by getting virtual EVerest instances. So this tool is at the moment free. And if you want to be a heavy load user, then we have to talk. Let's say those single instances of EVerest, you can just start there. You can just configure whatever kind of EVerest you want and get then basically charging stations with that, where you can connect with your CPMS and also on a side channel with automatically stimulus protocol or system under test protocol. And then you can, I don't know, plug and unplug cars, injecting errors, setting state of charge for the vehicle. So all of this might be helpful for your CI/CD testing against EVerest. We also had another webinar that's a bit more Pionix specific. So as you know, EVerest connects via OCPP to the CPMS. Especially for all the EVerest developers out there, we have a new cloud tool which you can just install with a local client on any Linux-based chargers, for example, EVerest. And then you can have something like remote access, log file crunching, a lot of analysis around that. That's mainly kind of a support channel for the charger vendors, but it will also be opened up to the charge point operators. At the moment, a lot of big charger vendors have this custom themselves. I mean, from IPtronic, what the name of that, but I think Chempower, Tritium, I think literally many of the big ones have something like that. And this is kind of a white label version of that, which also works with every charger, with EVerest really well, with non-EVerest. Most stuff will work out of the box. For some things, you might need adapters. Okay, more to the general overview. What happens in front of us? We have the ICNC. We have a e-mobility branch around open source organized there, so we can also meet in Berlin if you want. We have our own conference, once for the deciders and once a hackathon in Southwest Germany. Another week later, the LF Energy Summit in Berlin, including 1 or 2 talks, at least two or three talks about EVerest. And there will be 2 meetups, one's about the entire edge or behind the meter, and one about EVerest. So please join if you're there. Then afterwards, there's a Charging Festival in Germany, and in parallel, I'm so sorry that they're doing this in parallel, OCA Plugfest in Dublin. So let's dive a bit into details. The face-to-face, highly recommend if you're in Berlin. We just sponsor you a free breakfast with like 150, 200 industry leaders. We'll do this together with the TweenOS folks this year. So please join. I'll also share the link here in the chat in a minute. We're having the event 7th to 8th September also in Germany. So it's right after ICNC, after the weekend. Can visit some nice castles in between. This is a list of companies which are currently listed. We are still lacking a CPO. So if any CPO would love to be on stage with us, I think Citrine folks or S44 folks will bring their own CPO customers. But if there are more, we would love to have you here on stage. And as you see, Monta, Charge Cloud. So in a way, we have already some CPOs here. And there's, I think, more in the discussion which we want to bring here. So will be an interesting days of technical talks and of leadership decisions and discussions behind the scenes, a lot of networking. Please join. And right afterwards, the 2 days, we'll probably remove the chairs, adding more tables to the room. We'll have a hackathon. So it's not literally the same size of people we can accommodate. This is fully free of charge. I think there's even sponsoring possibility by the Linux Foundation. So if you need subsidies to travel there, we can do things like bring your own charger and EVerest it on site. There's discussion around a Meta integration hackathon, installer proof of concept, installer tool proof of concept doing that, this federated testing CI integration, what I just mentioned before, with the idea to build some prototypes there and make some architectural decisions between all the EVerest maintainers in the room. And there will also be some feature deep dive sessions. So on certain things in EVerest, making some deep dive learning sessions, and would love to see you there as well. Also share the link about this. The next EVerest CPO Forum will be in 4 weeks from now. And then last point, any backlog ideas for our next meeting here online, any wishes for the agenda, then please add that to the chat and just speak up. Whatever we say now can be cut out, so you won't be on the record. Then this is the material we prepared. Only things left to say is, join. We can now discuss, continue on the whiteboard, and if you have any topics, happy to discuss them now. We can cut them out the recording, so it will be more private if you wish. Let's use the time, and otherwise, see you again in 4 weeks, or potentially face-to-face in one of the different conferences. September will be busy.